Our next game, Arizona against the Rams, surprisingly competitive for at least 3 quarters of it, it felt like. But Matthew Stafford, you see him and Puka Nacua along top the fantasy board. Chad, I know you have some feelings on the MVP race. We could stop here and do that now if you want.
I just want to say, before we get to the MVP race, Puka Nacua has had like 120 yards stolen from him in the past 2 games. He keeps having these 40-yard touchdown bombs stripped away from him. He's absolutely out of his mind this year. He also missed 2 games. Right. If Nacua had stayed healthy and only got screwed by the refs, and then some of these penalties were penalties, he could have flirted with 2,000 yards. The man's an absolute machine.
Yeah. Meanwhile, by the way, he made a ridiculous catch in the end zone, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, that's Puka."
Yeah.
Like it's like the 7th different
we're immune
ridiculous
to his
catch.
greatness. So some breaking news here. The Arizona Cardinals are firing coach Jonathan Gannon, sources say. Endless losses to finish an injury-riddled season spelled the end of Gannon, who should be a top-tier defensive coordinator candidate now.
Okay. All right. Well, added to the list, they call it Black Monday, and so it's I believe it is now the 4th coach that has
Kevin
lost
Stefanski, Pete Carroll, Raheem Morris.
Right, and now Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah, we'll go through all of them.
We'll go through all those
after the games,
a little bit later as well. So
hopefully an offensive bump for this Arizona team that'll presumably have a new starting quarterback next year. But
maybe not.
Michael Wilson, I mean, I would buy into Michael Wilson next year. Like, I wouldn't think this is fluky. Yeah. I guess there's the Marv dynamic there.
There's there's
a lot. The garbage time problem.
I think he's going to be the Juwan Jennings that we wanted Juwan Jennings to be, where last year Jennings really kind of breaks out, and then he's been banged up and he's had some tough moments with his route running this year. But Michael Wilson, I mean, just the plays that he's making, next level plays. He lit up the Rams defense. The Rams have an elite top 7 defense, and he carved them up. Yeah,
I mean, look, so 5 for 99 and a touchdown, and his second matchup with the Rams, and he had like 140 yards the last time he played the Rams. Right? So the positives are the 5 games that Harrison Jr. missed this year, 26 fantasy points per game, 119 yards per game, 32% target share. The other problem, though, is as we talk about, targets are earned, right? And so in the games with Harrison active, single-digit fantasy points in 10 of 12 games, just a 14% target share. Now, is that a function of he just wasn't getting open, or just the way the offense is designed that it was going to McBride and Harrison? The other question is there's so much unknown, right? Because so much, all of his production was with Jacoby Brissett. If there's a new quarterback, I sort of think about Brian Thomas last year, and obviously Thomas profiled as a much higher prospect, much more talented prospect than Michael Wilson. But still, Brian Thomas Jr. had this unbelievable run with mostly Mac Jones last year, drafted high, and then Trevor Lawrence comes in, and for whatever reason they can't seem to get on the same page this year. Coaching change as well. So now there's going to be a coaching change. We would assume that whoever the new head coach of the Arizona Cardinals is, they're going to bring in their own offense coordinator. So you would assume Drew Petzing is going to be looking for a job, right? Just by nature of the fact that Gannon has been fired, so they figure they clean house with the staff. And so in a new offense with a new coach and probably potentially a new quarterback. There's a chance we talked about that maybe they take a day 2 or day 3 project and they keep Brissett there as kind of a bridge. But so there's just so much that's going to be unknown about Michael Wilson. I'm with you. I think he's talented. I don't know if he's this talented, but I think that Juwan Jennings is probably a pretty good comp. I think he's like a wide receiver 3. Juwan Jennings from a fantasy football point of view. He's like a wide receiver 3-ish.
And when Jennings got over like 7 different injuries this year, he was good again.
Yep.
So I think when you look at it from that perspective,
he's also Michael Wilson is like. He's like Austin Reeves, where whenever Luka Doncic sits a game, then Austin Reeves is just going to give you 35. Like, he can scale up his role where he can take on a wide receiver workload, wide receiver 1 workload seemingly.
That was Alexander Madison for a long time.
Yeah.
It was we got a Madison week. Yeah. He's RB1. Yeah. When any other week you could not play him.
Yeah. No, that's a really good comp. And Connor, you missed it on fantasy football pregame Sunday morning, but one of the things we talked about was sort of like biggest surprise. And for me, my biggest surprise was Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson, basically, he had 5 games, right? But he finishes as wide receiver 16 on a fantasy points per game, over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. He finished with a higher fantasy points per game than Justin Jefferson, Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey, Jalen Waddle, Cortland Sutton. All these guys, he had more fantasy points than CeeDee Lamb. And he did that basically in, a handful of games here.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched. or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.